everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. So I've had the question a lot about brush recommendations lately, and it really is a good thing to address because as often as I talk about affordable makeup and here's a way you can cut corners here or there, the cost of brushes still adds up. And so I thought, what about a video where we can show just the bare minimum brushes you would need to get a full face look? Bare minimum amount of purchases, it's all drugstore, and a couple of these are double-ended, but that's fine. You know, that's one purchase. So here's one brush, two brushes, 3, 4, because these come in a set, 5. All are strategically chosen. There's this double-ended brush from e.l.f. called the Cream and Powder Face Brush that I've been kind of playing with, and I'm realizing that can do so much actually. So yeah, if the amount of brushes needed has been a concern for you, this video might be able to put your mind at ease and give you a bare minimum brush approach, but not really a bare minimum makeup look because we're going to be able to still do everything. I'm going to start off doing a little NYX complexion combo today. I'm going to pull out my face glue primer. No brush required for this, of course, and yeah, I could probably come up with even some other combinations that would also be super minimal, but this incorporates some brushes that I think are absolute must-haves, and like I said, I kind of think I've discovered yet another must-have here recently. This primer adds a little extra hydration. It's not too sticky. I try not to put on too much because I feel like there's no real benefit to that. And then I'm going to put on my NYX Make 'em Wonder foundation that I have in the shade 08 Vanilla. I've used this before in a video, and I think it's a good option. It's worn well on me. It seems pretty thin. I feel like I'm getting on the bare minimum today, so I just need a little bit more. And then you've seen this one pulled out a lot, but it's definitely going to be an essential in a minimal brush makeup routine. This is my e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush, so it's got this nice full side on one end, which is going to be great for blending in your foundations, skin tints, glowy primers, whatever it may be as a first step. I think this works really well. And I do really like this foundation. I think it gives really nice coverage for as thin as it feels. Blends in a snap, and you know, this brush, this is a nice surface area. It's not as large as like e.l.f.'s new brush release that they put out that looks like this, you know, but you're not gonna be streaky. It's gonna blend in everything super effectively, so I love that. And then I have a real back and forth approach to this brush when it comes to concealer. I've got this NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer in vanilla. They're both vanilla, and this is a really good long wearing concealer too. It stays really looking the same all day on me, but I'm going to dab this around in the places where I need it. And then the approach I like to take is to go to my smaller end here of this same brush I was using for the foundation blending, and I'm going to spread out the dots that I applied. This is not the full blend. This is just spreading it out, making it take up more room. Okay, just spread around, giving ourselves brightness and lift. Just like so. And then flipping the brush over to the other side, we are dabbing over the skin like this. Dab, dab, dab. And what this does, I feel, doing this final tap in with the larger end preserves your coverage. You're not able to really apply as much pressure with this end as you are with this end. You can't get that targeted pressure, but you're getting a nice surface area that can tap over, and you don't end up over blending, but you end up preserving your coverage. And at the same time, I find myself flipping back and forth because, well, maybe there was a little bit on the inner corner of the eye that can only be reached with this brush, you know? So it's just such a good duo for getting those initial face steps on. Everything from, like I said, a glowy type of primer, if it's Rimmel Multitasker or Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, this is great for it. Going into skin tints, going into your fullest coverage foundation, this can handle anything, and this can handle any of your concealers. The back forth method, I think, is best. Then we're pulling in a powder, and what are you going to need to apply that? I like a powder puff. You got these little e.l.f. mini ones that are so good. It's not hard to come by really cheap options for little puffs. So, I mean, there's just a lot out there. You might find a multi-pack for just a couple dollars or a great deal on Amazon for a whole bunch. I have some hot pink ones that I know I got in a great little set from Amazon. I still have a bunch of. These are washable. You wash them just, you know, right along with your brushes, lay them out flat to dry, and totally reusable, okay? That's going to be my chosen method for applying my powder and really getting it targeted to my key, like priority powder places. Then once I've done that, sometimes there's a little excess, sometimes there's a little bit more to be blended. I've got this cream and powder face brush from e.l.f. So one end is dense and kind of a little bit angled, as you can see, and one end is a really nice cut of a powder brush. It's a little bit pinched in right here at the ferrule. That's giving the brush some width left to right, but it's also tapering up to this point here, and this is going to be very important. The fact that it is tapered, it's not one huge blunt surface, it's tapered. So there are going to be times where you're using the brush as a whole. There's going to be times where we're using it really just right off the tip. There's going to be a time where we pinch it. But I'm going to take this right now and I'm going to use this to kind of blend in everything that was just applied there with the triangle powder puff, working it around a little bit more on the skin, making sure there's not excess in any one place. And if I'm like, you know what, I want a little more powder on my skin, I'm feeling maybe just a little tackier than I want to feel down here on the cheeks, grab a powder. This is just my CoverGirl Clean Pressed powder. Use this side of your brush. Boom. You don't have to use the brush in any special way, just that whole entire thing. It's not out of control. It's a great density level. I've owned this brush for a while, but I'm just now realizing its value for streamlining your brush routine. And I want you to know that this can tackle creams or powders. So I'm going to grab in like one of these new little Wet n Wild guys. These are the Mother Fluffer. They call it a pudding bronzer and pudding blush on the packaging. And this is the one called Beige Please. This would be their lightest bronzer option. I haven't used this one much, so I'm using it today. And I'm just going to dab that in my normal places, and I'll show you how well this blends with that little e.l.f. brush that I just pulled out. So we're going to the more densely packed end, not the powder end that we were just using. And this is so nice for blending out cream bronzers, cream blushes, a cream highlighter if you need to. It would honestly be a terrific size for blending a foundation. This brush can multitask in so many ways for your face routine. So we're tapping in here. As you can see, these blend in really easily. And like I said, I haven't used much of this shade. It's very, very subtle on me. But there's that absolutely perfectly blended. How about we bring in some powder bronzer to layer over top? Guess what? We're just going to go to the powder side of that brush. We're going to dip right in. This is Maybelline City Bronzer. It's just a little bit sunnier. I think it's going to amp up what that cream was able to do. But I'm primarily doing this face routine just to talk about the brushes. A little bit here. I'm kind of focusing this more tops of the cheeks. This is kind of a sunny, warm bronzer. Now there might be some concern like, you're going to be reusing this for so many steps. You know, what do? I would just wipe it off on my hand. I would swipe this off and I would be pretty confident that I've removed any excess from that. And then this is the Berry Chill shade of that Wet n Wild product here. I like how they look like little mushrooms, little squatty cute mushrooms. Look at the depth and richness of this. I want you to see it tackle something tricky, you know, or something that you might see on my skin and think, ooh, what if that doesn't blend? It will blend with this brush, okay? And the size is good. You can see that in relation to the size of my cheek. I'm tapping over it. I'm stippling right over that. And honestly, I am quite picky, I feel, with the brush shape, size, density that I use. And this is so good for what we're trying to accomplish here. That took a blush that looked straight up berry red when applied to my cheeks and worked it right into my skin with ease. Wasn't even hard. But if anybody's sitting there saying, yeah, but is it too big to do a powder blush? No. And this is where the taper matters. We're having ends of bristles coming way down here, but as far as the top part of bristles, everything that reaches the top of the brush, that's a good zone to be able to pick up your blush, okay? Just going nosedive straight down into it. This is CoverGirl in Please Please Pink, their baked blush. We're going straight down. Products only getting picked up on the tip there, and then I can layer up. Or I could only do powder blush. I'm just trying to show you everything in this video. I might look like, man, she's just using that whole surface area. No, not the whole surface area of that brush is touching my skin. Just those longest bristles in the centermost part of the brush are touching my skin there, okay? I'm thrilled with this. This is quite a find, and I'm glad I'm finally realizing it. Now, what do we do after that application? We're just dusting it off on the hand, okay? What do you do for a highlighter? This is where we're manipulating this brush a little bit, or you could work off of the upper part of this right here if you wanted to. But I'm just gonna take that powder brush. I'm using my Soft Touch Bouncy Glow highlighter here from Essence. The shade is Soft Glaze. And I'm gonna pinch it. Okay, so look what's happening to the brush. Pinch it, go in, boom. Okay, it's hitting a surface area right in here. I'm not saying I would love to do this every day as a replacement for my Real Techniques setting brush, but look, I'm getting highlighter precisely where I need it. A little bit here, a little bit here. Oh, you need a little more surface area to blend? Just go over it as is. There we are, and this is what we used for our face steps. We used 2 double-ended brushes and a puff. e.l.f. Complexion Duo Brush, e.l.f. Cream and Powder Face Brush, and then I also use this little guy from e.l.f., but any sponge you want to use, okay? Next up, I'm going to do brows, which isn't going to require any outside brushes, and then we'll talk about eyes. Brows are done. I used my CoverGirl Clean Fresh Nano Brow Pencil and my e.l.f. Laminating Brow Gel, and then my e.l.f. Eye Primer. And then the palette I'm pulling out today is from Sydney Grace. It's their Unbreakable Bond palette. You know how they come out with a light and a dark variation. This is the light one. Yeah, we're going to use just very minimal brushes. They're brushes you see me use all the time, but it's the final 3 brushes in my whole video here. 2 of them come from the same set. These are from Profusion. I'll keep talking about these as long as they keep these available. It's the crease brush that I use. It's the small pointed brush. Those come within a trio that also comes with a small, like really little flat brush that you might find some good uses for, but I just don't use that often. And then this one from Morphe, the M303 large flat brush. It's going to be perfect for patting on your shadow. So yeah, these are tried and true products. This isn't something I had to scrounge up and really dig deep to come up with something that I could recommend here. These are just the brushes I use all the time. So I'm going to kick it off by getting something going in my crease. I'm going to go to Dusty Trails right here. Just a nice little mid-tone that we can use to get some depth in our crease. Hi, Bisky. You're talkative today. This is one of my absolute favorite palettes from Sydney Grace, I must say. They do a great job with everything. She wanted me to throw her twist tie that she's been chasing around the entire house. Then I'm going to take this one right down here. This is called Indiana Love. It's a matte navy. Picking up a little bit of that with my Morphe M303. This is a brilliant brush. It's flat enough to pack on shadow, but it does have a tiny bit of fluff at the end. And that's what's going to always make it easy when you get close to that crease. It's going to like just basically put the shadow there in the crease, but also be able to fully pat it on your lid. Sometimes I bring in a medium flat brush from Morphe. I actually use it quite a bit, but if we're trying to keep it minimal, you could use this one, clean it off to use it inward on the eye, or bring in a sponge tip applicator. But here I'm just kind of flipping the brush. Oh, I love a navy. Again, on the other side, we're first and foremost tapping it on the outer part of my eyelid. Tap, tap, tap. The pigment is great here, but navy isn't probably widely seen as the easiest type of shadow to work with. But I think that really helps exhibit how good these brushes are, because they can take even a tricky shade and make it just look perfect. I woke up to the sound of thunder this morning. Haven't heard thunder in a while. Guess that's how we know it's becoming spring. Okay, so there I've patted it on. I haven't even really blended it, although it looks pretty good. Then for more shape, more control, I might take this small pointed brush. Comes in a pack, like I said, with the crease brush. I might really target that shade right out here. And if I want it to look more dramatic, if I want it to come out with lift, and if I want to really make sure I'm hitting the depths of my crease, this is the type of brush you're going to be pulling in, okay? So much control. So often I think people are using brushes that are too big, and it's nice to have a fluffy blender or a fluffy crease brush, but sometimes we need to be able to just absolutely hit certain areas, and that brush can do it, right? So just, again, a little product on the tip, and then we're able to perfect what's going on out here. This is navy blue we're working with, and I'm not having a hard time. You know, I'm just shaping it. I'm using small little circular motions to get it about where I want it to be on the eye. And then you're thinking, yeah, that's all good, Em, but what are you going to actually blend with? I'm going to blend with the crease brush, okay? I'm just going to dust it off on my hand here, and it's free of product. I can tell it's free of product, and I'm just going to use that to go over the edge. And if you wanted to apply a highlighter type shade up under your brow, I would use this brush at this point as well. Look, we're just blending the edge. You're not going to sacrifice anything here, really. I do that a lot. Just stick with that brush. It's easy. It's already in my hand. Then we got a little light shade here called Mama. I'm going to take that, and this can very easily just apply that right up under the brow. No problem. Okay. Then we're thinking, what about the remainder of the lid? Take the flat brush that you were using with the navy. You're going to clean that off. And another option are those little mats that are like shadow swipe or something like that. They're really good about pulling the color off of your brush without getting it wet. But I can also just use my hand, and then I can wash my hand later, you know. I'm going to go to this shade right here. This is called Shaylee's Shimmer. Okay, right there by the navy. Pick some of that up. And I do feel like even though this brush is a little bit on the larger side left to right, I still have enough control to be able to pat shadow on the inner part of the lid just as easy as the outer part, really. So if you were thinking about those Morphe brushes and you're thinking the medium or the large, I'd get the large and just multitask with it if you just wanted to keep it to one brush. If you're thinking, I would like to be able to switch off, you get the large and the medium. There we go. Oh, I love that dusty blue. Again, over here, we're patting it inward. And then what do you do on your lower lash line, Em? I'm glad you asked. You go back to that small pointed brush. And I'm sacrificing nothing, and I'm happy about it. Going back to navy. Tip of the brush only. If you start getting shadow down all the side of that taper, you're just going to have some stuff flying off under your eye, okay? This controls it. Tip only. And I'm putting my brush where I first want the most product to go. So that would be the absolute outer part. And then it eases in. I get less and less as I go in. Look at that. Beautiful definition, navy blue, completely cohesive with the rest of the eye. Again, tip of the brush, starting on the outside. Don't need to go back in for any more unless you're going for an ultra dramatic lower lash line, but just let it ease its way in. The brushes have done their job. Again, this is one purchase because they come in a trio, and then this is the other thing. These items can all be purchased at Walmart. If you're trying to get them from one place, this is the one thing you got to get this one from Ulta, okay? Trust me, if there was a perfect flat brush in Walmart, I'd probably have sniffed it out and included this here just for ease. Next up, I'm just going to, I think, throw on some mascara. I don't know that I even want any liner for this look, but mascara, lip, and then we'll just be back to recap. Finished look, I'm using this Milani mascara. This is their new Fan Club one in black. I've got that on my upper lashes, and I feel like it's actually doing a terrific job. I've got my e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes. And then for my lip, I just had this light glowy pink lip in mind. So what I pulled for was my Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick. This is the shade Gentlemen Prefer Pink. That's an oldie from this line. They classify this as a pearl finish. You can see the shimmer. It's like, you know, the ballerina shoes lipstick from L'Oreal. It's more intensely pink than that. And then I just cleaned up a little bit around the outsides with this plumping lip liner from Catrice that I use all the time, the one called Cheers to Life. It's a little bit mauvey, and it just immediately defined my edges. And then this is the Glow Reviver Lip Oil Glimmer in the shade Princess Cut. So that's giving all the shine, but a little extra sparkle on top as well. And looking at the finished look, I think maybe I could take a little more powder blush. Sometimes I forget that this Please Please Pink, it's got pigment, but it's not necessarily like a super immediately wow pigment on your face. So I would go back to my double-ended brush here and pick up a little bit of that and just kind of add some in. And that plays so well with the pinky lip. I love the navy eye. Honestly, the makeup I chose for this look was really an afterthought. I just kind of sat here and chose as I went, like I would any normal day that I'm sitting down doing my makeup and not doing a video. But the strategic choices were the brushes. And again, we used the two face brushes in a puff. And if you're going to say, well, Em, that actually counts as 4. Well, you don't buy them separately. So this is a strategic choice here. And these are great options. I'm so glad I finally realized the worth of this cream and powder face brush. I knew the complexion duo brush was a total boss, but this one is great too. You got your puff and then 3 different brushes for eyes that gave us a totally complete look using navy eyeshadow today. If that doesn't prove it to you, I don't know what will. But yeah, I hope that's useful for those of you who are understandably really trying to minimize the brushes, because the makeup costs enough as it is, and then you tack on a whole big long list of different brushes. I get it, that can be crazy. So here's a very thoughtful and smaller grouping of core brushes that I think you'll get tons of use out of and really enjoy. So thank you so much for your time, friends. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you again soon. I love you. Bye.